made it back. Thanks so much for sticking with us. I told you our conversation with Tommy Tyekiff would be a fantastic one. So let's jump right back in to the second half and final portion of our conversation with Tommy Tyekiff here on the 11% Pod. Thomas, when they arrived, Thomas introduced me, and Luciano's first words to me, he said, "How many exes?" And I thought he was asking ex-wives or ex-girlfriends. I was like, 2 or 3. Then I realized he's asking my shirt size. Is it a 2X or a 3X or a 4? And I said, "Oh, a 3, Maestro." And he said, "Me too." Walking, and I thought, this is maybe okay. Now this is my all-time new surreal conversation. And then, I tell people I never had Luciano's cooking, although we set it up where I know he did a lot of his own cooking. I did beat him at a few hands of poker, not most of them, but a few hands. And he really was that kind of, to me anyway, almost like sweet, like you want to take care of him. You want to, you forget that he's this global phenomenon and has been for half a century. You just want to take care of him because he's always being nice and asking about my girlfriend or asking about, how my mom's doing. But yes, how many exes? And I thought, what? Why is that? And then I realized he's talking about my shirt size. I asked Thomas afterwards.
But he was amazing at he could tap into anyone, and he just was the most charming human imaginable. Opera on the face of it, you got someone speaking in a almost you can't really make out the words a lot of the time, and even when you can, they're in Italian. So you don't really know, unless you speak Italian, what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
But the moment Pavarotti delivered it, the way he delivered it, and the way he engaged the audience via that music, you knew exactly what he was singing about, even without knowing Italian, even without knowing the words. And it was the way that he could kind of convey that music and translate that music, which is the most beautiful thing ever. And, to do no disservice to all the other amazing tenors that have been before and after him. I can't, he's incomparable, dude, in terms of like the way that when he smiled, you smiled.
Mm-hmm.
When he was happy, you felt happy. Whether you're playing poker with him or whether he was singing a concert, he had the most incredibly contagious personality. And that was just a wonderful thing to be around.
It was. And you used the word, I don't think most people truly understand. He was incredibly charming.
Yeah.
One of those, you forget that who you're in the room with. You just want to be in the room more often. And the first recital style performance I ever went to was that show that I did. And I remember standing beside Thomas at the sound booth, like we're kind of right behind John Pello, and feeling the tears start to well up.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what he was saying, but I knew what he was feeling. Like I knew the emotions were starting to fire up.
Yeah.
And Thomas leaned over. Thomas asked me, "Do you know what he's saying?" And I said, "Not at all. Like I don't have to."
Yeah.
And that was the first.
That was it.
It's more like a warm up for him. I mean, the first half was really to get ready for the second half of the show.
But he was wicked as well because he could use his charm. We had, because his health was always, something that was important to all of us, important to him, important to his family. So we did our best to make sure that we were providing a healthy environment, which is hard when you're on the road and everyone's inviting you to gala dinners and, champagne and everything. But we started to invite personal trainers to, just have like a little bit of time, like a half hour, an hour on the treadmill or whatever. And day one, we'd get the best personal trainer wherever you are, whether you're in Paris or, Santiago de Compostela, all these wonderful cities you went to, and they'd send in their best personal trainer, local celebrity. Day one, they'd have the best intentions. They might get him to sort of stand up and do 2 minutes on the cross trainer. Day two, he'd say, have a seat, have a chat. Let's have a chat. Day three, they'd be playing Briscola and cards with him. Day four, they'd be like, "Can I come to the gala dinner?" He would just break people, dude, because he was just so charming that they're like, "This, you don't want to fight the guy. Just so much more fun to just be on board."
He was just as sweet as they came. And when, so for the folks who weren't in attendance, the stage that we'd built, this show went on at the Maybe Center, which was a 12,500 seat arena in Tulsa. And the stage we built not only seated a 66-piece orchestra, and Leone and Cynthia Lawrence, who is the soprano, and Maestro, grand piano, in front, but behind it was fully heated and cooled and plumbed, and almost, I mean, somebody could live there if they wanted. And at some point, when we realized we had to do this, and Tommy referenced this earlier, somebody said, "Well, if it's going to be plumbed, do we need to have bathroom facilities?" And we said, "Yeah, that's part of it, is a sink and a toilet." And someone at the venue ordered this toilet. Do you remember this toilet? That was,
Yeah, I actually found a photograph of it the other day.
that was, it had to be like 3 feet. The toilet,
You could live in the toilet.
the toilet was designed for somebody who was like 1,000 pounds or like needed crane help to get around. I mean, it was not a, I mean, I'm a big guy, but it was not a plus size toilet. It was its own creation. And they brought that out and they said, "Hey, we got the toilet." And I was like, oh my God, we can't, he's going to be so offended. Like, Maestro wasn't 1,400 pounds. And I wound up going to Home Depot and I said, "Hey, I want the tallest, like the biggest that is a standard size." Got that. Wound up using that one in my home, actually, because I was renovating right after that show. And I don't know whatever happened to. I think it was called the Big John, which alone tells you all you need to hear. You could like put ice in it and have a soak. I mean, this toilet was the biggest thing I'd ever seen.
It was. I found a photograph of it the other day, and I don't know whether it was perspective, but it's like Harvey's face and this toilet behind it, and it's like you're standing in front of like the Trevi Fountain in Venice or something, or Rome. It's like it's just so huge. It's this massive porcelain.
It is. I remember Harvey. I remember you taking that picture. Harvey bending over and just.
Yeah.
In fact, I said, hide this toilet. I don't even want him seeing it. Like, I don't even want to see it backstage. And then we got the little scooter, little mobile.
Yeah, the mobility scooter. Yeah.
Here we call them the Rascals. And I'm still not even sure why we had that, because he always would jump in the car to drive to the venue.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was one of those things.
I remember it was always a thing whether that was a good or a bad idea. Because once you start, it's quite hard to go back, I guess.
Oh, yeah. And then.
But everything was so big though, Johnny. Like when I remember there was some ribs. There were ribs in for dinner.
Yeah.
And it was like they were from a T-Rex. I'm like, I'd never seen ribs so big. And this is after I've just been to Walmart and I'd seen this like giant toilet. I felt like this sort of dwarf in like in this giant planet.
Welcome to America.
It was incredible.
We had,
it was incredible.
So if you're listening, when we confirmed the show, I hired a chef to be on call 24/7, a driver in case someone from the team, a couple translators. I knew everybody spoke English, but I wanted somebody who spoke Italian and German just in case there were any issues. And I remember the chef that I hire, his name escapes me, but I remember several conversations with him, and he was, man, he was really proud of those ribs. I mean, like you would have thought
they were incredible.
You would have thought
they were incredible.
It was one of those, like they weren't even available until like he drove to another city to be able to get the ribs so he could prep them right. And I said, "Man, I know Maestro does a lot of his own cooking, but the team," and I will tell you the funny part, the whole reason that came to be, I remember watching a Simpsons episode where Homer Simpson goes to visit his brother, his rich brother, who's like an industrialist or something. And the rich brother has a chef that's on call 24 hours a day. And I thought, oh man, that would be a way to make a point. Because again, we're bringing Pavarotti's, and folks have to understand, Maestro's team was 8 or 10 people from 3-4 countries. I mean, it was an international team, and I wanted to make a point. And I will say, one of the best compliments that I've ever gotten when we landed in Hollywood, and I saw Thomas. First thing I said, "Man, Thomas, how's it going?" And he said, "I wish we were still in Tulsa." And I asked him, I said, "Why is that?" And he said, "Around here, everybody wants to be posh, where you all focused on service and delivery." And I was like,
It's
"Man,
true.
I knew we couldn't be LA or Miami. So how could we, set ourselves apart?" But man,
It's true.
do you have time for the final five? Can I?
I've got all the time you want, my friend.
Oh, okay. Then cancel your next 4 days. We're
I'm just
gonna
getting comfy here.
have.
Because the thing you said about having the drivers on standby,
Mhm.
that was often a thing in cities we went to. Because often when you're in a big city, it's quite inconvenient to have drivers on standby because they might not, like in Paris or
Mhm.
those busy cities, like there just isn't the space, even
Yeah.
at the hotel, um, just to have a fleet of cars waiting. And that was a thing at the I remember at the Sunset Marquee we couldn't have like six cars waiting outside. So instead, if you wanted to go anywhere, you had to call in the driver. And then there was the question like which one's my car? Because I
Yes.
remember this vividly because the day that you arrived, I thought my car arrived, and being kind of assuming it was one that Martin had ordered for me. I just got straight in the car, and then I got comfy and put my seatbelt on. I looked across, and Ludacris was sat next to me. It's like, dude, the fuck you doing in my car? I'm like, very sorry, really sorry, mate, really sorry. So yeah, it was way better in Tulsa. You just had the cars on standby, and there's no danger of me getting in, someone else's car.
The funny part, though, about that, I don't know if you remember, the day of the show, not all the cars showed. And
Yeah,
when I landed, I'd rented like a luxury one from the rental company, and I wound up driving Leone and I think maybe Edwin or Vanessa and one other person in my car. And I remember,
yeah, dude, we're gonna get our money's worth out of you.
right, and Andy Hewitt, who's does the Hollywood Bowl with Bill Silva. We'd eaten dinner at his restaurant there on Sunset the night before, and he said, "Man, I'm so glad I bought you dinner." But I was just like, "Oh, I'm driving in Hollywood. I hope I don't, Because in Tulsa, everything, the venue, the Walmart, where we had the press conference, it's within like a 4 block area. Like we didn't need drivers,
Yeah,
we didn't need a bunch of cars.
yeah.
But in Hollywood, staying and I remember, yeah, Maestro didn't stay there at the hotel. He had a luxury home or whatever somebody lent him. But okay, hey, I do want to be respectful of your time, man. So we're gonna tackle the 11% pod final five. Tommy Tyekiff, setting aside all humility and being as humble as you are, set that aside. What's the greatest compliment that you have ever received?
Um, well, aside from being asked on your esteemed podcast, Johnny,
Thank you so much. It is a
I don't know. It's hard. I'm British, dude. I don't do talking about nice compliments about myself very well. But um, there was a time after I worked with Luciano, I did, as you mentioned at the top, tour with many others. One of which I was doing a leg with Jeff Beck in Northern Europe, and I was filling in for his regular tour manager. He was taking some time off, so we were just on the road for about a month, and we are going around like the Norwegian, Swedish, Finnish, and then down to Spain, various jazz festivals. And Jeff had an amazing keyboard player with him, a guy called Jason Rebello. And me being a piano player, I was just absolutely loving getting to hang out with these, some of the best musicians in the world. They had Vinny Colaiuta on drums, Tal Wilkenfeld on bass. It was like a dream team band. And they would just live, eat, sleep, and breathe music. If they weren't playing music, they were talking about music. If they weren't talking about it, they wanted to be talking about it and playing music. So it was just, again, another amazing environment to be in. But we were back at the hotel in Barcelona, and it was late after the gig, and always just have a few drinks and wind down. Jeff was always so high and like excited and adrenaline filled after the gig, and there was a piano in the lobby, and Jason was playing the piano, and I was just loving sitting next to him because he was a jazz piano player by trade. Um, and it was just incredible for me, like a masterclass. And I was asking questions, and he obviously figured that I was a piano player of sorts myself. Um, and they were doing one of the pieces they played in that repertoire was "People Get Ready," and it was just such a beautiful representation of the song, the way Jeff played it with Tal and Jason. And he was just showing me like how he could transpose it into like every key in the octave and just go up chromatically, and it was just incredible. And I said, "Wow, man! I mean, I find it so much easier just sticking within like sort of three comfort zones of like maybe like B flat, F, and C." And he goes, "You're a piano player?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, nothing like you." And he goes, "Play." And I said, "No, no, 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 no." And then all of a sudden, Jeff's like, "Tommy, you're a piano player. Like, play the piano. We didn't know you were a piano player." So all of a sudden, they forced me on the piano, and I play them the piano, and I mean, Johnny, I love Bill Evans, I love Oscar Peterson, I love Keith Jarrett, and I try and play a little bit like them, but honestly, I'm nothing next to Jason. But I ended up playing for like 20 minutes, like some just nice jazz standards, and they listened to me, and it was just a magical moment, and they all gave me a round of applause, and they called me like the piano hustler from then on because they thought I'd sort of been like keeping it quiet, but actually I had some tricks. And we sort of moseyed up. We got on the lift, and we all went up to our respective rooms. And I said cheerio to Jeff when we got out of the lift, and he turned around and said, "Tommy, mate, you're a fucking great piano player, mate. I'm fucking great chops, awesome, mate." And I said, "Thanks, Jeff." That was it. Probably the best compliment I've ever had, mate.
Man, I feel proud, and I wasn't involved in the moment or like even there for it, and that would have been a great compliment. I only got to see Jeff play once. It was here in Tulsa, and when Harvey was managing,
Really?
and Jeff Appergen was, I think, maybe had Gary Hoey, and so I knew both sides opening, and I went and kind of sat like in a balcony in a seat by myself, and was so transfixed. Like I remember thinking, I get it, and I see why Beck is like, oh my god, how have I not been more into this guy like my entire life? Uh, but if he were to even acknowledge me, I'd probably consider that a compliment. But knowing where he comes from and knowing where you come from, that story's making me smile. So thank you for
Yeah,
that.
it was a moment.
Number two, Tommy Tyekiff. How long were you in your chosen career before you realized you could actually do it and make a living doing it?
Well, I think we spoke a little bit about this at the top, but I think that um, when I was at school, I went to the type of school where they sort of try and kind of put you into like what kind of banker or lawyer do you want to be?
Yeah.
Like they're trying to make you into a traditional thing. Um, and I think that I was headed for that. Like I said, I was going to go and do banking, and that was going to be it. But I have to credit my dear brother, who's just one of the most wonderful human beings, for getting me that work experience because until then, I was just like, a job is a profession, and that's the only way that you can make money. But I started to see, because my brother's a lot older than me, he's like 11 years older than me. And I was starting to see him like, become pretty comfortable and have this amazing career. And, he was at Universal and Sony and EMI, and a lot of his friends were similarly doing well. Like, he's best friends with people that now manage everyone from Adele and Jamie T and run record labels. And I started to think, right, no, these guys, they truly love what they do. Um, and I think I was really lucky, Johnny, that I saw that early on in life that you really can, like, you can make money and enjoy what you do. The two aren't mutually exclusive.
Right.
So I think I was pretty young. I guess I was about 17. But a lot of luck then came into it. But I think that was the sort of turning point when I saw others, and I think that's something that I install a lot. I got kids of my own now, and something that I'm really adamant about is that they recognize that you really can do whatever you want and make a living out of it. Um, my job is to make sure they're exposed to all the opportunities, and then they can take a pick.
Let me
But I think it was my brother.
let me ask you this. My daughter is really pursuing Broadway dreams now, would you want to see your kids follow your? Would you, if your daughter were to come and say, "Hey, I want to be in the live concert industry, and this is how I want to make my living," would you be like, "Oh, that's fantastic. How can I help?" Or would you be like, "Oh, sweetheart, please no."
Yeah, I absolutely, no, Johnny, I would love it. And I think you've got to be, something I'm always checking myself is to, don't get in your own way, and don't get in your kids' way. Like when they see a spark, like enable it absolutely.
Yes.
So yeah, I'd be delighted. We need more incredible women. I mean, there are some incredible women doing what we do, but well, we'd be lying if we didn't say it's a pretty male-heavy promoters world. We need, more brilliant women. There's lots of brilliant women that are promoting and agents and all sorts. But I think your daughter would be a great addition to the fam.
I told her, I said, women are incredibly marginalized in this industry. I mean, worldwide, but in this industry. And my fear is in 20 years, like everything's going to be Live Nation or AEG, or the independents are going to be squeezed out. And she said, "So I'll just have to be a strong, powerful woman at Live Nation or AEG." And I said, "Yes, okay, you get it. That's exactly what it's all about." Because man, she loves Broadway, but man, can we go see Billie Eilish? Can we? And yeah, you want to fuel that fire as much as you can, and
Yeah,
have her understand that uh, some of the hits that I took are it's like life. It's part of the learning process. But somebody asked me that question, and I said 10 years ago I would not have wanted her to, but now I'm definitely happy if she were to do that, and I'd encourage her. And in fact, I told her when we were in London last time, when you and I had a chance to catch up, I asked her. I said, "Hey, do you want to go down and have coffee with Harvey Goldsmith?" And she said, "I'm going to hang out and sleep in, I think, because Harvey and I met pretty early." And I came back up and she said, "Oh my God, Dad, you didn't tell me who Harvey was." Like she'd been Googling him while we were having, she didn't tell me who Harvey was. And I said, "No, I did tell you several times," but she got a kick out
I
of
think
the fact that I know so
the
much.
only thing that I do reflect on is the tremendous naivety I had when embarking on a career in the music business, because it is risky. Like that is, I think when you're talking about whether your daughter did what you did, tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure it's got a lot to do with the risks that a
Yes.
career in live
Oh,
music
yeah.
comes with. And I
100%.
was completely naive to that. Like I just looked at like my brother and his friends like loving what they did and making like some of them were like, really starting to make great money. And I was like, wow, that's how it all works. I mean, reality is that the music business is a slippery slope, and
Oh, it is. It
it's
can be.
it's very, very, very hard to get on the slope, let alone move up it. But I was completely blissfully ignorant to all of that. But I think that's sometimes like that's a good thing. I think if I'd known everything about it, if I had a parent that already worked in the music business and told me about all the dangers and all the pitfalls and all the risks, then I probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
So when I say like I don't want to get in the way of my kids, I almost don't want to tell them too much about it. And if they decide they want to do it because they've seen all the good stuff, then who am I to tell them that it's a bad idea?
Oh, yeah. Fuel the dream. And I will mention, I did tell my daughter, on my side of what we do, I know a lot of artists who always knew they wanted to be artists. But most of the folks on my side, Harvey started off pharmaceutical, whatever he was studying, and he started off thinking maybe I'll be a banker, and I started off I was going to be a lawyer, and I realized same thing. At 17 or 18, this is not what I want to do. Like I'd be miserable if I did it. Like the perceived paycheck probably wouldn't be the fulfilling on the inside. Even at 18, I kind of knew that existed. But as I told her, looking back, I could not have scripted my professional life to work out any, like it's just it had to happen for it to happen. If I would have tried to make it happen, it probably never would have. But because there is
Yeah,
luck involved in that,
yeah,
and a lot of
yeah.
Harvey Goldsmith in my case. Okay, number 3, Tommy Tyekiff. What is your one perfect musical moment? A moment so tied to a song that you can't help but hear the song and instantly recall where you were or what you were doing.
Um, I find that a really hard one because I'm a very, very musical person, and I think there's nothing more that ties me to moments in time or takes me back to a place than when songs come on. And conversely, I can tie places to songs and history. Like, I remember, if you tell me a year, then I'll tell you what was in the charts that year. So there's an intrinsic link between songs and times and occasions for me. So to say like what is the one particular moment that an piece of music that really associates, I find it hard. But I suppose there was a musical epiphany. Can I have two?
Yes, yeah, you can have as many.
My musical epiphany when I knew that I wanted um, to work in the music business, and I knew that this was just the greatest thing ever. Was when I was really young. I was only 14, and there was a guy at school that had a big brother that was in a band, and that band had somehow got the beginnings of a record deal, and they were invited to be supporting Green Day at the Brixton Academy in London. And this was in like 1994. So a long time ago, like when Green Day were like, that's like the Dookie
Yeah,
album, like really like almost peak Green Day.
yeah,
But before they were like arena stadium
mhm.
fillers. But if you're a Green Day fan, for me, it was like, and we went to our teacher at school actually like got permission to use the minibus, and about 10 of us got driven up by the teacher to go and watch Green Day at the Brixton Academy, age 14. And I just knew, like, I knew this was like the greatest thing ever. And it was before I had even thought about career paths and what to do in my life. But my musical epiphany, I think, when that was what really stirred the emotions, I saw that was an incredible thing. But the one moment and the one song that probably resonates with me more than anything goes back to um, I was working for Harvey, and we were doing a concert called Live Earth, and it was kind of raising awareness of the globe's desperate need for drinking water, and there was simultaneous concerts happening around the world, and Al Gore was involved, and it was an amazing concert with lots of people appearing. One of whom was the Foo Fighters, and it was at Wembley Stadium, and all the artists had to come to the office, or their tour managers had to come to the office the day before the gig to get their accreditation. And a guy called Gus, that looks after the Foo Fighters, he came to the office the day before to get all their laminates and all the accreditation. And I gave them to him. And I said, "Hey, Gus, for what it's worth, I'm really excited about seeing the band tomorrow. Like, of all the people performing, like Foo Fighters is for me the personal highlight. So I'm going to be there, side of the stage now. I can't wait to see them." And he said, "Well, Tommy, dude, if you're a fan, then come along this evening. We're doing a little warm up in Camden, in Dingwalls. And just knock on the door and we'll let you in. Just come along." Now, Johnny Dingwalls is, I don't know, I think the capacity of Dingwalls is about 120 people. Like it's basically a pub, a bar, legendary in Camden, which is like one of the most old school musical parts of London. And sure enough, I went along with my then girlfriend, and I knocked on the door, and true to his word, Gus opened up stage door, let me in, and there was no one there. There was like maybe like 12 people in the audience, and then he said, "We'll probably go on. I don't know, mate. Probably go on at about 8 o'clock. Haven't really spoken to the guys yet, but they'll be out soon. We're just gonna like get ready. They just come off the flight, so it's really about acclimatizing and just loosening up the muscles." Um, and then eventually, a few sort of celebs turned up, a couple of family members. There must have been about 40 of us in the audience. And then Dave Grohl and the band come out, and it's like they're standing in front of you. It's a room. You're like, and it was almost awkward because it was so intimate. You're just like standing in their room, and they're like, "Hey man, like, what are we gonna play?" And no one said anything. And I'm standing there with my girlfriend. Dave Grohl goes, "You dude, what do you want me to play?" And I'm like, "Monkey Wrench." And he's like, "Great choice." And they just jump in to Monkey Wrench. But imagine it was like the last concert, the last song of your life. He played it like it was the most important thing on the planet then. It wasn't like I'm just going to strum through it to get warmed up for Wembley Stadium tomorrow. He played it in this little club in front of an audience of 40 people from a guy that requested the song he's never met before, and he played it in a way that was like this life depended on it. And it was the most magical and wonderful thing I've ever experienced. And it was with my now wife. So that kind of like was a nice thing as well. So that was probably my musical epiphany. Did that really answer the question?
That
I don't know. It was a good story anyway.
It is, man. I've done, I think, 3 Foo shows, but you know, I'm on the contract, and we don't have hangs. I don't, hang out with those dudes. But I love finding out that people are good guys, and because every now and then you'll hear like, oh, how's so and so? Well, he's not really, he's not. I'm not going to hang out with him any more often. But everybody I've ever talked to who's dealt with Gruel, or the guys as a whole, like they're kind of like beasties. Like everybody loves them because they're so easy to get along with. So thank you for making Dave Gruel as popular as he is today. I'm going to give you full credit for that. Number 4, Tommy Tyekiff. What is one truth or piece of advice you wish everyone was so familiar with it became a cliche?
I don't think I'd say anything really groundbreaking here, man. It's just like what I was saying earlier about that you really can just follow your dreams and do something you enjoy. So often I think that, I was in danger of being channeled into a career that I wasn't going to enjoy, but that I would do anyway. And I'm just adamant that you do something you enjoy, because you're going to spend a lot more time earning it than you are spending it.
Oh, yeah.
So just do something you enjoy. I'd say if that isn't already a cliche, then make that a cliche. And I keep saying to my kids, like, if you do something you enjoy, you'll probably be good at it. And if you're good at it, there's a good chance you'll make money from it. And then everyone's laughing. But the corollary of that is that although making money is great and money is important, I have found that the material stuff is nice and it does give you a kick, but it doesn't make you happy eventually.
No.
It's the time is the greatest thing. How you spend time with people, friends and family. That's the thing. So I guess there's 2 in there. It's do something you enjoy and just be you make sure you got your values in the right place. Time is the most valuable thing.
I will tell you, man, I completely agree, but I told my daughter, I said, the one thing I would ask you keep in mind, no matter what field you go into, healthcare or hospitality or food service or retail or entertainment, at some point it comes down to relationships. And if you're lucky enough to have one where 20 years after the fact, I can reach out and go, hey, Tommy, my daughter and I are coming to London. Let's get together and catch up. And you're truly looking forward to catching and enjoy the time when you are. That's the win. That's the life goal achieved.
Totally, man.
I've had okay years and I've had great years and I've had awful years, but it's the relationships that for me help define happiness. And I've just lucked out that I've got a bunch to keep me going all the time.
There you go.
Last one.
There you go, man.
Ironically, this question was inspired by a fairly famous picture that involved Harvey at Live Aid. I've seen it a lot. I think it's George Michael and Harvey and Paul McCartney and Bono, maybe Freddie Mercury. It's a finale at the end. And someone had made a comment about, man, can you imagine? And that led to this last question. Tommy Tyekiff, if you could join any artist on stage for any song, who would the artist be and what song would you sing together?
So I will overthink this way too much.
This
it's not like
I wanted to ask you the most. This is the one I'm looking forward to the most for you specifically.
Because the thing is, if you ask someone that's not themselves a musician, then it's basically like, what's your favorite karaoke song?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll just say, I don't know, like I Will Survive, or like Gloria Gaynor. Like, they'll go to where they want to. But for me, I want to be playing the piano. Okay. Now, I'm fairly old-fashioned in that if I could be any musician ever, I would be Billy Joel because he basically did what I was never able to do, which is just to be the most wonderful, gifted piano player and songwriter and performer of all time, in my opinion.
Yes,
So
agreed.
then the question is like, well, what's your favorite Billy Joel song? The answer to that is Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. So
Oh,
initially, I'm like, I would do Scenes from an Italian Restaurant with Billy Joel. But then that doesn't make sense because he would be playing the piano. I don't want to be playing the piano and Billy Joel singing. He wouldn't like that. He would be like, dude, I'm the piano player. And I wouldn't want to be playing the piano in front of Billy Joel. So I was thinking, like, that's not actually what I want to do. So then I go, okay, I've got to reinvent this. Instead, I'm thinking, I want to be playing the piano, but I need to be part of the band. What is, a legendary track that is sung by one of the greatest bands of all time that I could just be on stage and be a part of, which more squarely answers your question without changing the orchestration of the band. And then I think that would be I'd be doing I'd be on stage with the Rolling Stones playing the piano for Sympathy for the Devil.
oh, okay.
It's a legendary piano riff, and it's got, the piano is like the driving force through the track, and it's a great way sometimes that they open or close their concerts, and it's the Rolling Stones, man. Like,
Man, it's you. It's
I mean, like the British piano Rolling Stones, Sympathy for the Devil.
I.
Mic drop.
My daughter and I love Billy Joel, and she has said before, who doesn't like Billy Joel? You may like him a little, or you may love him, but everybody likes Billy Joel. But she and I had the conversation, Tommy, within the last week, and she said, "Who's the most influential band?" And I said, "Probably the Stones." Like, I mean, if the songwriters, maybe Dylan, but like as a whole, I would say the Stones. And it blew her mind when I said, and man, and Keith does all that with only five strings. It blew her mind that somebody could create the sounds they do, that they sit down to write something, never met them, totally different upbringing, thousands of miles away, decades later, my daughter
Yeah,
is going to be into, and not even use the full instrument, as she said.
yeah,
But man, both solid choices. I
yeah.
I've never had to ask this, so I'm not going to worry. But my daughter and I were at what may be Billy Joel's last concert. We were at the concert in Uncasville where he fell and kind of popped back up. I thought, he fell over and got up quickly. I thought it was part of the gig because he did it during "You May Be Right," and the whole shtick was he's got the towel, stopping between. I'm so worn out. I thought it was part of the act, and then it came
Like when Willy Wonka does it in Charlie and the Chocolate
exactly right.
Factory.
Same thing. You're like, okay, man, it's part of the gig. We get it. And then, and by all accounts, I mean the two or three folks I know who work with Billy, uh, everything's good. It's just the balance is a little off. The his affliction is just causes the balance to be thrown off from time to time. But did you I don't know if you have we ever had the conversation when the Stones were playing and they brought out Dylan. And
No.
Dylan, have you ever heard this? This it was. I think it was a London gig, as a matter of fact, man. Stones are playing, and Dylan and the Black Crowes, like everybody's there, and they bring out Bob for, I'm pretty sure, like a Rolling Stone, and Bob came out wearing the same shirt Mick was wearing, like which was an odd choice, like the flower white thing. And they get out, and when it comes Bob's time to sing, doesn't sing at all. So they kind of take the chorus all the way back around. And then the second time comes, and Bob and then turns and walks off the stage, and you hear Keith going, "Come on, Bob, come on, mate, don't be that way." And I don't
Yeah.
know if it was one of those, it made sense to everybody in the band and Bob to have him come out dressed as Mick Jagger and not wind up singing and then leave stage again.
That is slightly strange.
It was
I've I've I went to a weird Bob Dylan gig again at Brixton Academy actually years ago, and he yeah, he was playing some of the same tricks.
I
Like strange.
man, I'm a diehard Bob fan, and the '01 to '08 or '09 man, never. But the one thing, and you can appreciate this, of all the artists I've worked with who claim to not care what anybody thinks, and I know a lot of folks from the Outlaws to the Rebels to the only person in our industry who I think truly doesn't care is Bob Dylan. Bob doesn't give a fat
Yeah,
rat's behind what Nobel Prize. I don't care. Like Pulitzer, I don't care. Like it's just not his thing, for better or worse.
yeah,
But it was just an odd and of course, if I've seen the Stones 5 times, it's been 5 killer shows. Those guys are always on fire. But it was an odd
some people like that, that unpredictability. But it's also often when he's playing his own material, he'll slightly alter it, and I never know whether that's for him or for the crowd. Or some people want to hear that like variation live because then it's even more unique. Some people just love that kind of Eagles like experience where it's just crystal clear replica of the record.
I will tell
Horses, of courses.
Winnie Watson, who was Dylan's drummer for a long time, I asked him about that, and one of his first weeks with Bob, he went up to Bob and said, "Hey, man, you're always changing the musical arrangement." And Bob said, "We're not changing the arrangement." I think he said we're changing the style or something, but and he said, "I guess Bob likes to kind of keep it fresh for himself." And I get it, man. If I had to play like a Rolling Stone 18,000 times, you'd probably want to
Yeah.
spice it up a little bit. But that was definitely an odd moment where I was like, and I turned to my girlfriend and I said, "Man, I'm sure that made sense to somebody, not me necessarily." But
Yeah. Yeah.
and it didn't take away from the show.
Yeah.
Man, Tommy, thank you so much for taking the time, my friend. I can't tell you how great it's been chatting with you. This is always.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed this, Johnny. I'm glad to hear you've enjoyed it too, and I hope some folks enjoy listening to it too. But it's lovely just to reflect on what was an amazing time. It was an amazing concert, and the timestamp on all this, didn't you say it was like almost exactly 20 years, or was it?
Today was 20 years and 10 days exactly.
20 years and
September
10 days.
17th, September 17th of '05 was when the show was in Tulsa, when we launched the North American leg. So 20 years. And
I had hair.
I had a lot of things, but the funny part is, if you would have asked me where I'd be in 20 years, absolutely none of it would have been what I'm sure I thought I would have been back in 2005. I knew I wanted a career, and I knew Pavarotti would kind of put it into a different gear. But I had no clue that someday I'd be able to support myself doing it. I'd be able to work with folks I wanted to work with. I'd be able to run venues and manage tours, and all the things we wind up doing if we're in it long enough. But I will tell you, before we hang up, I think my daughter and I may have another trip to London soon. She recently discovered Ted Lasso. And she said, "We need to go to London and go to all the Ted Lasso places." And as my daughter likes to do,
that's where I am now.
I mean, I know you're in London. Are you in that?
No, but I'm in West London. I'm in Richmond, where
Are
Ted
you in
Lasso
Richmond?
is.
I did not know you were in Richmond right now, and my daughter is going to get a kick out of that with just me telling her. So my daughter knows that she's heard the Tommy Tyekiff stories, and she knows you and I are friends, and I've been looking forward to this. I did not know you were living in Richmond, though.
Yeah, man.
But she's
I'm living down the road, but there's you'll love it. It's it is exactly as it looks in the thing. It's all little quaint cobbled streets and tea and coffee shops and British pubs. It's all waiting for you. I can't wait to take you there. Just give me the day and I'm there.
I will, man. If we'd been into Lasso, February of last year when we flew over to see Phantom at His Majesty's, we probably would have stayed in Richmond. But she goes, "Well, now we just have to go back." And I said, "Yeah, we'll go back. That'll work." So probably spring or something, we'll head over there, but I'll let you know and we'll get together and catch up again.
I can't wait, mate. Just give me the signal. I'm there.
I sure will. Tommy, thanks for taking the time, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Pleasure. Thank you, mate.